Talk about Kermit the Frog. Okay.
You're live.
What's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Schilling from Sequoia Health, bringing this week's Wednesday Wellness Minutes. And as you saw on the post previously and in the title of this, it's talking about the root causes of infertility. Infertility is a big problem in this day and age. If you know anything about declining sperm counts and the shapes and motility of sperm for men and toxic estrogens in our environment and things like that, it's a big problem. And therefore, we need to demystify it because everybody thinks there's got to be some silver bullet for infertility, which is like, oh, let's go get in vitro fertilization, which can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $150,000 per pregnancy, depending on how complex your case is. So IVF may or may not work. It's not risk-free, if you will. That's one option. But in our world, we take a look at the holistic person and say, what are the reasons behind infertility? In my mind, if someone says, I'm having trouble conceiving, I'm thinking, well, the oven must not be prepared for the bun to go in, I guess you could say. And therefore, there needs to be, the woman needs to be healthy, but the man needs to be healthy as well. And I generally tell people to expect anywhere from 6 to 12 months of a detoxification process. And that can be detoxification physically, mentally, emotionally, things like that. There are a lot of things that can hold us back. Any person I work with, it doesn't matter if it's Lyme disease or infertility, if it's headaches, constipation, there's always 7 things we look at no matter what case it is, and you can fill in yours like Crohn's or MS or whatever it is. Stress, toxins, foods, hormones, infections or microbial imbalances, traumas, physical injuries, and or neuroemotional stress. So when you think about that, it's not any one of those in of itself that is going to cause the injury. For example, a woman who has conceived and then given birth, for example, either cesarean or vaginally, that can be a trauma, which can then lead into having the body have a weakness, causing them to become or have challenges becoming pregnant again. So they're either infertile as a result of that process or they're unhealthy in general. So let's talk about stress. Stress can come from the inside or outside. So EU stress, called eustress, it comes from the inside. So that's microbiological imbalances, organ systems not working, toxins can't get out, things like that. Distress comes from the outside. Unhealthy people in your life, stressful relationships, trying to do too much, going too crazy, riding high on coffee all day long, and things like that. So that's going to imbalance things. That's stress from the outside. Foods, of course, are one of those, but that's a different category. Toxins, we talked about it briefly, but 270,000 different toxins we're exposed to about every day. Air, food, water, products we put on our skin, things we sleep on, everything like that. So the toxins are a big issue. If you ever look up, or I should say, I'd recommend you look up a documentary by the the Canadian Public Broadcasting. It's like PBS for the U.S. It's Canadian version. But look up The Disappearing Male, M-A-L-E, and it's relating to all the toxic xenoestrogens, which are the environmental estrogens in our world, whether it be things we put on our body, plastics, and all that stuff. But it's a very enlightening, and it really talks about how, in essence, they claim that the human population is headed for extinction because with the declining quantity and strength of the male and their male births are declining. You look at people in China, they're trying to get spouses and stuff like that, and they're not finding enough men that are suitable, things like that. It's pretty interesting to watch. But the male side of the fertility coin is very, very significant. And you can look up all the different vitamins and minerals that might be beneficial for a male to get their testosterone up and stuff like that. But stress and toxins start off there, okay? Foods, inflammatory foods, gluten, dairy, corn, soy, sugar, things like that. Nightshades can be a problem, but gluten, dairy, corn, and sugar are pretty much 95% of the U.S. population's diet. So when you think about that, you think about getting those inflammatory foods out and calming down the fires in the body so the body can actually do something like procreate or create a baby instead of putting out a fire. Okay? Stress, toxins, foods, hormones. Biggest disruptor of hormones in our day and age, I would say, is stress, cortisol, your stress hormone. But it's also being thrown out by insulin. And those two battle each other, but insulin's the king. So when you have excess insulin, it's going to cause insulin resistance. Type 2 diabetes, or what we call diabesity, people getting overweight and diabetic, it's diabesity. So the hormones are a big, big problem. And if you have excess stress, if you just look up like pregnenolone steal, and just you don't have to know how to spell it, just pregnenolone and then steal. It'll talk about how when you're stressed, your hormones will basically get shifted over and you'll go all the cortisol instead of going to estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, things like that. So stress, toxins, foods, hormones, infections. Infections are a big one. You could have a mycoplasmic bacteria infection in the bladder affecting the kidneys. Kidneys are the sea of chi, your low back, it's your energy source. As far as fertility goes, if your kidneys are weak, there's no way you're going to either conceive or hold on to a baby, which is really important. And if the kidneys are weak, that's going to weaken this whole plexus in here. And of course, you have your uterus right in here and things like that, provided you're a female, of course, or you're hermaphrodite, could be. But the issues with infections are pretty significant, and they can be wide-ranging. It could be a bacteria in your kidneys, in your liver. It could be in the bladder. It could be a mold and fungus in your liver, in your bladder, in your kidneys, in your brain. Depends. Parasites are a big problem, typically in the brain. That's going to affect your hormone production cycle, telling your brain, or inhibiting your brain's ability to tell your body what to do in terms of creating those hormones it desires or needs. Again, if the stress is too high, because cortisol can rise, just like cholesterol can rise, if someone's body's battling an infection. Cortisol and cholesterol are like two firefighters, depending on their job. They have different roles, right? Somebody's putting out the fire and somebody's trying to build the place back up is really what you want to think about when it comes to that. But infections, viruses are big time problems. You could have a viral gastroenteritis, which is in your gut. You could have Epstein-Barr. You could have Coxsackie, cytomegalovirus, have mononucleosis type symptoms and stuff like that. And that can all affect your body, which is going to lower your ability to produce anything fun, like a child, I guess you could say. But you want to think about, in essence, stress, toxins, foods, hormones, infections, and then you have traumas. We talked about birthing traumas a few minutes ago, as far as having either cesarean, which cuts right across your conception vessel, which runs from the perineum up to your lower lip. That's your conception vessel. And then you could have traumas to the tailbone. You could have traumas to the back of the head, top of the head, front of the head, smashed teeth, things like that. That can affect your governing vessel, which will also weaken you. So if you have traumas, if you have stressors, like you be slipped off the seat of your bike and smacked the pole, maybe you fell and hit your tailbone playing hockey, got in a car accident, smacked your head, you've had a cesarean or a natural childbirth, you had some tearing or episiotomy during that process, or you have a scar right across your abdomen for a cesarean birth. I've seen things like people having laparoscopic surgery on their gallbladder or something else, and they go like laparoscopic through the umbilicus, which is right on your conception vessel. That'll throw things off. Teeth infections, we mentioned infections before, but of course, if you watch a couple of videos back, we talk about hidden infections and stuff like that. Teeth are a big problem. And then we have neuroemotional stress. Now, for the female, the uterus is all about holding on to or nurturing something, nurturing a baby, nurturing a relationship, holding on to a friend, holding on to a baby, things like that. That's a big stressor. So if you have challenging relationships in your life, it's going to be hard for you to hold on to a baby if you can't handle the relationships in your life. Ovaries are about loss of love. So if you have a relationship where there's distance or it didn't end on amicably or on good terms and there's a loss of love there, that can affect your ovary production, your ability to ovulate and things like that. The analogous organs for the uterus, for the male, analogous meaning like the pair. So if a woman has a uterus, the male has a prostate. If a woman has ovaries, a male has testes. Okay, so testes are the loss of love, just like the ovaries, and it's less inability to hold on to the relationship or a person or something like that. For the prostate, prostate's more about struggles. Men typically have conflicts with females depending on their relationships, depending on how they were raised by their mother and things like that. So those are the different stressors there. But if the liver's not processing the hormones properly, it's going to be a starvation complex or territorial conflict with someone you love. If you're butting heads with your partner, it's very unlikely you're going to get anywhere close to conception, because if you guys aren't on the same wavelength and on the same rhythm, it's like when girls live together, right? They menstruate on the same cycle, right? Well, if a husband and wife are not working together and harmonious, they're not going to be able to conceive. It's just not going to happen, because the innate intelligence that's in your body is amazing. It knows when you're suitable for procreation and when you're not. So if your body says, we're too busy fighting infections and too much stress, we're not going to prioritize procreation. People who go into what's called amenorrhea, or no menstrual cycle at all, either during menopause or after menopause, it's because there's just an imbalance in their system. So you have to take that in consideration. So keep these in mind: stress, toxins, foods, hormones, infections, traumas, and neuroemotional stress. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You're talking about fertility, you're talking about constipation, headaches, getting over Lyme, getting over ALS or MS and neurological disease and stuff like that. It all comes down to some grouping of those different stressors and which ones need to be pushed on first. Sometimes it's toxins got to get out first and the immune system gets strong. Sometimes it is the immune system that's weak and it can't, detox organs are not working as well. It just depends on what your mixture is. That's what we're experts in. That's what we help you figure out the cause and effect of. We help you understand what your symptoms are, where they're coming from, how to get rid of them, how to never have them again. There's a lovely testimonial on our website and on Facebook here from a young lady who had trouble conceiving and had a miscarriage and then came here and was able to find a path back to having another beautiful child. And there's not a lot more gratifying for me than to help someone who thought there was no hope to bring a new life into the world. Being a parent myself, it's an amazing experience. They might drive you a little crazy sometimes, keep you up at night, but they're super cute, right, when they're smiling. But anyway, at any rate, let us know if this has been beneficial. Share these ideas with your friends and family. Start a dialogue with people who you know are struggling with fertility and that you know need help. The in vitro fertilization, the IVF system is not perfect and there's no guarantee there. And it's massively costly and time consuming. Detox your body, detox your emotions, clean out the toxic relationships and help your body heal. If you need help with that, that's what we're here for. So let us know what you'd like us to speak about here. I ask you every week to give us some ideas so we can provide the most value for you, because that's what this is for. This is not for us, this is for providing value for you. So help us help you and help us help your family members and your loved ones, okay? For now, we'll sign off. Not sure what we'll talk about next week, but it should be something fun. We'll be super excited about it, all right? So for right now, Anissa will sign off for us, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week, guys.